Dark Myth Wukong, Chapter 39, Fusion. An unknown amount of time passed before Sun Wukong finally regained consciousness. The first thing he did was inspect the Golden Cudgel within his sea of consciousness. Gazing into his sea of consciousness, Wukong was stunned. The earth element spiritual resonance that should have been there had vanished without a trace. All that remained was emptiness. No. The Golden Cudgel was still there, floating gently up and down. What had happened? He had tried every method imaginable but couldn't absorb even a sliver of earth element resonance, yet now it was gone. Where did it go? Wukong immediately examined his own body, hoping the earth element resonance had somehow automatically fused with him. Unfortunately, after 3 thorough inspections, he found nothing. Worse, he discovered that the metal element power within his body had also significantly diminished. What on earth was going on? Where had the missing spiritual resonance and metal element power gone? Suddenly, Wukong's entire focus locked onto the Golden Cudgel, drifting leisurely in his sea of consciousness. If there was anything truly strange within him right now, it was this staff that had been with him for countless years. The possibility was slim, but Wukong had no other leads. It was a desperate gamble. He carefully extended a thread of his divine sense into the Golden Cudgel. As Wukong's consciousness entered, he was abruptly faced with a vast expanse of dense, dark earth stretching for untold millions of miles, dotted sparsely with low mountain peaks. The sight left Wukong torn between shock and elation. He was shocked because a world had actually formed inside the Golden Cudgel. He knew that Qi Nai Hua, Ji, the ability for an artifact to contain a world within itself, was a feat only achievable by ancient super-divine artifacts. Examples included the Pangu axe, used by the great god Pangu to split the heavens and earth, or the Eastern Emperor bell wielded by the supreme ruler of the demon race, Dong Huang Tai. His Golden Cudgel, while a powerful weapon, was nowhere near the level of those ancient artifacts. It couldn't even compare to divine artifacts, like the immortal slaying flying dagger of the loose immortal Luya, the Shenong ruler of the medicine, Saint Shenong, or the sun-shooting bow of the great archer Hu Yi. In truth, his Golden Cudgel wasn't originally intended as a weapon. The Ruyi Jinggu Bang was initially just a depth measuring tool, used by the great Yu in antiquity to gauge the depth of the Yellow River while taming the floods. It wasn't forged for combat. Thus, aside from its ability to change size at will, it had no other special functions. Its only other notable quality was its extreme durability. But seeing this land within it, Wukong knew his Golden Cudgel was no longer just an ordinary sea-pacifying divine needle. While still incomparable to the weapons of the ancient great gods, it had been immensely enhanced. Weapons were classified into mortal arms, immortal arms, divine arms, and super-divine arms. Each tier was further divided into low-grade, mid-grade, high-grade, and peak-grade. Mortal arms were used by mortal warriors, possessing only sharpness and durability. Immortal arms were wielded by cultivators at the golden immortal level and above, starting to exhibit various divine abilities. For example, Lai Tsensi's thunderclap drill was a high-grade immortal arm, and Mu Jia's Wu Gao sword was also a high-grade immortal artifact. Divine arms were used by Daluo golden immortals and emperor-level experts. Lu Yas, immortal, slaying flying dagger, was a peak-grade divine arm. Li Ying's demon-suppressing pagoda and Nessa's Jiang Kun ring were high-grade divine arms. The Pangu banner and the glazed vase of Yuanshi Tianzun were peak-grade divine arms. Super-divine arms could only potentially be possessed by saints. Each held immense power and contained its own world, Qi de Zicheng Shi Jie Che. At this moment, the Golden Cudgel existed somewhere between a peak-grade divine arm and a super-divine arm. It had already gestated a world, but that world was incomplete. Only when the Golden Cudgel gathered all 5 elements would it ascend to become a true super-divine arm. Even so, this revelation was enough to astound Wukong. Wukong's divine sense explored the space within the Golden Cudgel. Suddenly, a black stone stele appeared in his vision. It stood about 30 feet tall, rising abruptly from the barren land. Wukong let out a soft ah, and his divine sense coalesced into a form identical to his physical body, appearing before the stone stele. Countless strange, twisting runes were carved onto the stele, looking exceptionally mystical. Yet, upon closer inspection, they became frustratingly blurry. Resigned, Wukong gave up trying to decipher them and circled the stele. As he reached the back, he discovered a line of large characters carved into it, realm-suppressing Heavenly Stele, Barren Earth Number 3. These 8 simple characters exuded an incomparably dense and majestic aura, as if they were the very source of all power in the world. Just looking at them made the power within Wukong stir restlessly, threatening to boil over. What exactly is this? Realm-suppressing Heavenly Stele? Barren Earth Number 3. Does that mean there are other steles? How many are there in total? How did something so strange appear in my ordinary Golden Cudgel? What exactly happened after I lost consciousness? Just then, an intense sense of danger surged up from beneath Wukong's feet. Without a shred of hesitation, he pushed off, explosively, instantly darting sideways. In the split second he evaded, Wukong glanced back to see a figure launching upwards from the spot where he had just stood. If he had been even a moment slower, the sneak attack would have succeeded. Before his feet touched the ground, Wukong kicked off again, summoning the wind fire wheels beneath him. With a shift of his left foot, he shot off to the right. By now, the ascending figure had spotted him. Flipping upside down, the figure punched downwards towards Wukong. Unwilling to show weakness, Wukong clenched his right fist and met the attack head-on. Boom! The 2 fists collided, sending an invisible shockwave rippling outwards. Both figures recoiled. Wukong stumbled back 7 steps, while the other figure retreated only 5. Unable to leverage force in mid-air, Wukong was at a slight disadvantage. Once they both steadied themselves, Wukong roared.
Who goes there? Why attack me without reason?
Having asked, Wukong suddenly realized his situation. This wasn't the 3 realms or the 9 provinces. This was the world inside his Golden Cudgel. How could anyone else possibly enter, besides his own divine sense? Furthermore, the opponent was also an incorporeal form, which was incredibly bizarre. But his opponent seemed uninterested in conversation. It transformed back into a streak of light and charged at Wukong again. Seeing the clear lack of intent to communicate, Wukong decided against further questions. Whoever this was, he would beat them first, and ask questions later. Watching the rapidly enlarging fist, Wukong charged forward instead of retreating, meeting the attack head-on. Within a few breaths, they had exchanged hundreds of blows. Wukong's expression grew serious. Setting aside the unprovoked attack, the opponent's speed and power alone demanded his full attention. In this rapid exchange of over 100 moves, they were evenly matched. Wukong might land a punch, but the opponent would immediately counter with a palm strike. This being, whether in instantaneous movement or martial technique, was his equal. It seemed achieving victory quickly was impossible. Moreover, maintaining this divine sense form consumed considerable energy. If his divine sense was overly depleted, it could cause serious injury to his true self. The situation was disadvantageous for Wukong. Therefore, the only solution was to unleash the greatest power currently available to him and crush the opponent in a single blow. Otherwise, his only option was to flee. Just as Wukong gathered his strength for a final strike, his opponent seemed to have the same idea. It too stood silently in place, accumulating power. Clearly, the high-intensity clash had taken its toll on the adversary as well. After 3 breaths, Wu felt the power he had gathered reach its limit, Any more, and he might lose control. He looked up, drew his right fist back, and charged towards his opponent. The opponent's power also peaked. It mirrored Wukong's stance, drawing back its right fist before launching itself forward. In the instant before impact, a ferocious phantom of a giant ape materialized behind Wukong. The phantom ape mirrored his movement, raising a colossal fist high and bringing it down violently towards the opponent. Not to be outdone, the opponent countered. Behind it, the phantom of a Buddha clad in battle armor and a crimson cloak appeared, likewise throwing a punch towards the giant ape phantom. Wukong suddenly felt a strange familiarity with the opponent's phantom. It seemed somewhat similar to his own form as the victorious fighting Buddha back then. In the next moment, their fists collided violently.